I had no doctor. I had no diagnosis. I had no path forward. And all these years I'd been chasing answers. I had been doing all the techniques and nervous system and calming and neuroplasticity and somatics. And I taught that to a lot of clients. But I felt like everything was so prescriptive. And I felt like all along there was a missing piece that was me. And I had this voice back in 2010 that said, you have the power to heal inside you.
You're listening to Midlife Strategies for Badass Women, the no BS podcast for women over 40 who are sick of playing by someone else's rules. I'm your host, Sue Willoughby, badass midlife strategist, truth teller, and professional fire starter for midlife reinvention. Around here, we don't do fluff. We do real talk, bold strategies, and badass breakthroughs. Because midlife isn't a crisis, it's your damn power move. If you're all in, unapologetic, and ready to reinvent, let's get started. Hey there. Welcome to another episode, another fantastic new episode under the new name of the podcast, formerly known as A Life Worth Being. We are now Midlife Strategies for Badass Women. And today's guest is the powerful and insightful Heidi Blackie. She's a speaker, consultant, and the creator of UnshakableMe, a science meets soul program helping women break free from limiting beliefs and reclaim their inner power. After chronic illness brought her to her knees, Heidi made a radical decision to trust her body's ability to heal. And that choice changed everything. With 25 years of experience as an occupational therapist and a story built on grit and grace, Heidi now guides others to face life's challenges with clarity, connection, and deep self-trust. This conversation is your reminder that you are way more capable and more powerful than you ever dreamed possible. Heidi, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on my newly rebranded podcast, Midlife Strategies for Badass Women. So, welcome.
Thanks so much, Sue. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, I'd love to dig a little bit more into your story. I know that you are a lifelong athlete, and somehow, some way, that kind of took a toll on your body and changed your trajectory. So let's just kind of start there. Like, what happened? What were you doing? What's going on?
Yeah. So it kind of started with, I've always been kind of an active person in my life. And then in the late 90s, my mom was diagnosed with lymphoma. And she went through a lot. She actually ended up getting a bone marrow transplant. And I took that as I need to squeeze the marrow out of every single day. And how that manifested was I went 1,000,000 miles an hour every day. I worked several jobs after I graduated from grad school. I was training for a half Ironman at the time. Then I was riding horses 3 days a week on top of that. And then I became a competitive cyclist. And so I was working and then I was a homeowner. And so from the moment I got out of bed, my feet hit the floor, I had a feeling of scarcity of time. There isn't enough time to get everything done. I'm going to just go and cram as much into my day as possible. And they were all choices that I made. But I just was going and going. And then being an occupational therapist, I'm an empath. So I'm giving and giving and giving at work. And I started to get chronic injuries that wouldn't heal. And I would go to practitioners and kind of patch myself up. I'd modify my training program and I would keep going. And then I started getting illnesses, much worse than other people. I'd see people out. I used to race at the Velodrome and I'd be out there with people training and they have sinus infections and they're out there on their bike. And when I would get sick, I was leveled for weeks in bed, couldn't do anything. And I went through several doctors. I tried lots of things and nothing worked. And then in 2016, I lost my dog to cancer. 2 months later, my sister committed suicide. 6 weeks after that was my wedding. And then a year later, my mom had bone cancer. I lived with my parents for 3 months to get her on hospice. And so all those stressors were like a lit match to all the things that my body had been trying so hard to tamp down, and it was life altering. And I had to pare way down on work. I didn't ride my bike anymore. I was lucky to just walk a few blocks.
Mm.
And I slowly felt my life slipping away. And my husband, he's a competitive bike racer. Our relationship was founded on, being active, being athletic. We traveled to New Zealand and rode our bikes, bike touring for 3 weeks. And so there was a lot of loss in my own relationship with him, and that unseen illnesses that were in my body that on the surface, oh, you look fine, you fit, you're healthy. And it's like, you have no idea uh, how wrong you are.
Mhm.
And I got to a point where in 2020, I stopped working, and it kind of coincided with the pandemic because I couldn't focus. I had a couple car accidents and head injuries in there too. And in 2021, I got to a point where I was in bed most days a week. I was so full of despair. I had no doctor, I had no diagnosis, I had no path forward. And all these years I'd been chasing answers. I had been doing all the techniques and nervous system and neuro calming and neuroplasticity and somatics, and I taught that to a lot of clients. But I felt like everything was so prescriptive. And I felt like all along there was a missing piece that was me. And I had this voice back in 2010 that said, "You have the power to heal inside you."
Mhm.
And my voice of self-doubt just overruled that. And I was, I don't even know what that means. And, but I was at a point in 2021 where I was at rock bottom, and I turned the question inward and just asked myself, what am I believing about my ability to heal? And the answer was that I was believing I wasn't going to heal
Hmm.
and that I would continue to get worse because that was the trajectory that I was on. And I didn't feel like I could find a doctor. And that was a really raw truth that I had a hard time sitting with. And I thought, if I don't believe it, it's not possible. And so in that moment, I got out a journal, like a little notebook, and I just started journaling, and I made a vow to believe in myself and to believe in my ability to heal. And I just had this word believe, and I put sticky notes around the house, and I dove into research. I'm a huge nerd. I love research. And I read The Biology of Belief, and I read about the science of gratitude and attention and intention. I signed up for an intention masterclass, and I just really turned the lens inward. I journaled, I filled volumes of journals. I did meditation and movement, and I created practices for healing and rituals for healing. And it's lifelong. I mean, it's not like all of a sudden I wake up and I'm 52 and I decide I believe in myself and I'm done. It's a daily practice. It's not as intense as it was, but it's this evolution. And what started to unravel for me was this. It started with really questioning the stories that I had created and the beliefs around my illnesses. And then I just kind of was peeling back the layers, and I was like, I'm going back through my whole life because there's a lot of stuff there that's really limiting me. And so I started to go through all the not enoughness of, my whole life and all the ways that I compensated and protected myself for that. And it was amazing when I gave acceptance, all those things fell away. I didn't have to prop myself up anymore on achievements and approval, which I couldn't do anyway because I had no energy. I mean, it was all the labels I worked so hard to achieve in my life were all stripped from me. And then it was like, well, who am I? So it just started this relationship with myself, kind of meeting myself for the first time. And I know that sounds weird, but nobody teaches us to be ourselves.
Mm-mm.
And so it's just been this really, it's really unexpected, but I found this really deep ally within me that is my power to heal and to take risks and step out of my comfort zone, and really meeting it with kindness and acceptance, or meeting her with kindness and acceptance. And it's changed everything in my life. I look the same, but on the inside I couldn't be more different, and I love my life. I mean, I thought I had a great life before, but it pales in comparison to just the firm knowing and the groundedness and the being that I am now. So that was kind of a mouthful of
Okay, we're done
yeah,
here. Thank you very much for the.
yeah. But it's just this idea that I wanna share with people is that
Mhm.
what we're looking for is inside us, and I know that's cliche. It's, but the truth is that you aren't gonna find outside of yourself what isn't inside, and in a durable way, I believe, that's
Yeah.
my experience.
Well, and if we're looking for someone else to fix us, right?
Right.
Like you said,
Mhm.
I couldn't find a doctor to give me the right
Mhm.
diagnosis. In other words, I couldn't find someone to tell me what I wanted to hear, right?
Yeah.
Instead
Yeah.
of, what are the answers? And the body does keep score for sure. And you know that. And here you said
Mhm.
yourself, you were, teaching somatics and all of that stuff. And as an occupational therapist, and you were doing all this research and, teaching your clients these things, but
Yeah.
you weren't like taking your own medicine basically and doing that self exploration, which, it's not easy. Nobody really wants to look inside because it's like it
Mhm.
can be a little ugly in there, and it can be a little dark, and it can be a
Yeah.
little cobwebby, and it can be just a little traumatic, or whatever it is. But it's really interesting that, our bodies will compensate for as long as they possibly can. And I know I do body work on horses, and I work with them, and they're really good at compensating for
Yeah.
us, for our imbalances physically, and whatever else they're going through, and they will keep doing it until they can't do it anymore. And
Yeah.
then they're like, okay, I need a break. So
Yeah.
our bodies will say, hello, I need a break. And clearly your body was telling you, you can't. Oh my God. Okay. First of all, I'm a cyclist too. I don't ride as much as I used to because it's a little dangerous on the roads. But
Yes.
when you said you used to go to the velodrome,
Mhm.
that scares the crap out of me because that's like, I, I keep thinking to myself, right? I hated to like go up a steep hill and be afraid that I couldn't take that next pedal and be going to tip over. For those of you, can you explain what a velodrome is? I mean, we're a little off track, but I'm curious about that because
Yeah.
people that don't cycle and don't do competitive cycling, explain what that is
Yeah.
because it's crazy.
Yeah, the velodrome is it's a track that is banked,
It's like a
and
bowl. You're riding in a bowl kind
it's
of a
a
thing,
bowl.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And oddly enough, ours is the biggest one in the country,
Yeah.
and, it feels very long when you're in the headwind, but you're on a bike with a fixed gear and no brakes. So that means if you wanna go faster, you pedal harder. But here's the thing, crashes are always gonna go down the track, and fortunately have not been in one, but I've ridden over people who are on the ground. and it's not fun, but so you use the banking, you go up on the banking to get speed when you wanna go fast, and it's really
It's scary.
it's scary if you're not used to
Yeah.
it. There are rules, and definitely newer people are a little more sketch, and people who are super comfortable with people who are less comfortable, it can be a challenge as well, but
Yeah.
in general, there are some rules about, what lane you're when you're on the lowest, the black line that's the fastest around the track because it's the shortest on the inside. But where I used to race on the road and criteriums and stuff, and if people hit the brakes, that is
Disaster.
much more dangerous than being on the track, I think, because you don't have brakes. People aren't going to suddenly slow down. You really and you can't. You have to remember to keep pedaling. Uh, it's a weird sensation if you think
Just
you're going
keep
to
swimming,
coast.
swimming, swimming. It's like,
Yeah,
Dory, just keep pedaling, because otherwise you're just gonna drop to the bottom and you're gonna be like,
yeah,
"Poosh."
right, yeah,
Okay, I
and
just wanted to touch on that. It's
it's
like,
and there's,
I'm impressed.
just to put a plug in for Marymore, if there's anybody here listening in the Seattle area, they have great classes on weekends for all ages. They have a great juniors program. There's over 100 kids every Friday night for Kitty Kilo. It's a really great community. So that's a big piece of it too,
Yeah,
is just,
absolutely.
Being with community. So thanks.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say, yeah, I'm impressed when you said
Yeah.
Velodrome. I'm like, oh my God, because we used to do, road cycling and touring and stuff like that. So, but yeah, if you're in a pace line and somebody messes up and you're just like right on somebody's wheel and you're just like, that's it, everybody goes down. If you've ever
Mhm.
watched the big bike races,
Yeah.
it's scary. So, okay, there we
Yeah.
go. We talked about the cycling thing, but
Mhm.
but seriously, yeah, I mean, you're riding horses, you're cycling, you are doing everything that you possibly could to, like you said, squeeze the marrow, squeeze all the juice out of life because you were afraid, having been through that with your mom,
Yeah.
that I could die tomorrow, and which is true. We
Mhm.
all could, right?
Yeah.
But you were
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna wring it till it's dry, and clearly that's what happened. Um,
Yeah.
so when you
Mm.
started to go into yourself more and what were you said you started journaling, and all of those things, meditation and journaling, and we kind of poo-poo them because we hear, oh, you want me to journal, you want me to meditate? It's like, yes, because it really does make a difference.
Yeah.
What do you think was your breakthrough? Like, if you could, I'm sure that you had many, but what was there something that was kind of like your breakthrough moment? Or, can you tell me about that when you realized, okay, this is really making a difference in my life?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it was I like little routines, and I think it was really showing up for myself every day with this ritual, no matter how I was feeling.
Hmm.
And having anchors that grounded me, because I have a very chattering head. And it's very easy to go back to the old patterns. Our nervous system, even if what we're doing is absolutely the wrong thing for us, our nervous system is going to say, danger, danger, this is different, this is novel, go back, go back. And so it was just meeting the discomfort with that conviction and that belief that I I have the capacity to heal and to really accept this moment, as uncomfortable as it is. And I think as I was moving through my process, being more comfortable with the discomfort, not having every symptom mean something is looming in the future.
Yeah.
It's using that template of the past to predict my future. I mean, that was what I where I was. I was just thinking, oh gosh, in the past I would get a barbed wire sore throat. Well, I'm out for 2 weeks. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. So it was building that self-trust that no, this is different.
Mhm.
Don't just be here and accept it for whatever it is, but don't assign meaning, which we are storytellers,
Oh, totally. That's
And
exactly where I was going. It's like,
yeah, that's
yeah,
how we make sense of the world.
yeah, yes, and you're making that association like, "Oh, I've had this before. I know
Mhm.
it's this, and I know that this is gonna happen," and then it's like
Spiral. Yeah.
Oh,
So can it be
totally.
different? Can I associate something different with this is right here? Let's give it a name. Let's accept it. Because for so long I resisted.
Mhm.
I resisted just admitting that, I wasn't this person that I once was, and I wanted so much to be that person again and bring that back, and my husband's like, I miss the old Heidi. But, you know, when you're trying to do something that's completely new,
Mhm.
you have to create a different story. And was that was part of my journaling was the new story, the
Yeah,
new
the new
vision
narrative. Yeah.
for my life.
Mhm.
And every day, what am I believing? And how can I build the evidence for that new belief? And how can I visualize how I want my life to look and how health looks for me? And so it was really getting rid of that old story or putting it to rest and really investing everything into the new story, which is that, right here is all we have in the moment,
Mhm.
and I'm just planting seeds for the future of
Yeah.
acceptance and practicing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like what you said when I asked you what the turning point was, you're like, just showing up every day, and it is really all about those little baby steps, or I call them turtle steps, where if
Yeah.
you ever watch a tortoise walk, they kinda take a step, and then they stop, and then they take a
Yeah.
step, and then they stop, because you're just processing information, and you're processing it's like learning to process information without expectation and
Yeah.
without building story around it, and like you said, creating a new narrative, but it doesn't have to be a story that you're then going to put in your story file and pull out later, right?
Right.
It's a new you're constantly rewriting this new
Mhm.
narrative. And when you talked about I think about horses a lot, obviously, because I use them in my coaching
Yeah.
practice, and they don't have and I'm dating myself here, a Rolodex full of stories,
I'm with
right?
you.
That they're like, "Oh, yeah, well, I remember, a year ago when, this
Mhm.
plastic bag attacked me, and, it was just," and they don't stand around and talk about all this stuff like, "Oh, I remember when that happened and this happened and that." They're just like, whatever's happening in that moment, because they're
Mhm.
prey animals,
Yeah.
they're like, "What's happening right now? Am I safe? How am I feeling? Can I
Mhm.
let this go? Is it, or
Yeah.
do I need to listen to this and get the heck out of here?" Right?
Yeah.
So they're just constantly processing it
Mhm.
with every cell in their body
Yeah.
and, assessing, am I good? Am I that? And they don't like hang on to it. They're like, okay, and then we're done. And then
Yeah.
I'm going to let it go. So they're
Yeah.
really good at that.
They are. They're so perceptive. And
Mhm.
I look at my dog, and she is so in the moment.
Mhm.
I mean, she's just pure,
Yeah. Yeah.
authentic. She
Yeah.
is who she is.
You leave
Yeah.
for 5 seconds, they're like, "You're back. We never
Oh,
thought we were
yeah,
gonna
it's a
see you again." I'm
party.
like, "Really? I went to the car.
Right,
Stop it."
right.
But there's something really about that. Like, sometimes I just look at my dogs. This morning I said, "Oh my god, I am so happy right this minute." And they're looking at
Yeah,
me like, "Why?" "Okay, I guess that's good. Yeah, let's roll with that." Right?
yeah,
They're just like,
yeah,
I said, "I just love you guys so much." And they're like, "I know, we love you too." So
yeah. If I turn on music or I just do
Uh-huh.
it's a dance party. Like,
Oh,
she's
nice.
jumping, she grabs her toys. I do improv 1 day a week
Oh,
on
fun.
Zoom, and we have to do all this movement, warm up, and she is just I have to have my sound off because she's just like,
She's in it with you,
yeah,
right? That's
yeah,
cute. What kind
yeah.
of dog do you have?
She's an Australian Shepherd.
Oh, yeah, and they're busy. I mean,
He's very
they
busy.
like to have a job.
Yes, yes, and partying is a great job.
That's a great job. That is an excellent job. It's a happy job. It's a fun job. Let's go to work, right? Imagine if that was our job, is to be happy,
Yeah, it'd be
right?
great.
Yay, let's be happy.
Yeah, I mean, she is the most joyful dog I've ever met. Like, she just wiggles with joy and just smiles, and yeah, she's a
That's awesome.
challenge, but it's such a
They're busy.
reward. She's a treasure. Yeah.
So let's shift gears here a little bit,
Mhm.
and all of those things that you learned in your journey of coming back, and I'm assuming that your health is much better. You have more energy. Like you said, it's a daily thing to stay positive and to stay in that moment. And it led you to create your own program to
Mhm.
help others. Let's
Mhm.
talk about that, Unshakable Me.
Yeah, it's we were talking about Discovery Park this morning, and all of a sudden, like, I was walking at Discovery Park, and it just came into my head, "Unshakable Me, you're gonna build a program." Because this is the program I was looking for when I was in my worst stages, and I still am healing, and I've got a lot going on, but I'm living. I'm living, and I still go through hard days and flare-ups and all of that, but it's different now. And Unshakable Me just came to me because it's this kind of relationship that I forged with myself that's really founded on this deep ally with myself. And it's that part of me that says, "You are enough." It is a deep well of resilience and joy and courage and empowerment to create new narratives and rewrite the my life. And I it's really hard to put into words the feeling in my body when I just, like, allow the feelings of this unshakable me to really bloom. And it's a noun, which means it's in all of us. It never leaves you. It's just waiting to be discovered versus the adjective of unshakable. Adjectives, they come and go. I'm unshakable right now, but ooh, I'm really anxious tomorrow, or I have anxiety about this or whatever. But unshakable me is this non-negotiable part of you that's loving you just because you're you. It's my spirit, it's my soul. And if I can live with this, I mean, I feel like I've found the keys to the castle. I really this connection, because it allows me to connect so much more deeply with others because I connect deeply with myself. I can give them more compassion because I give myself more compassion. And I've accepted all of the junk that I was running from, all my vulnerabilities, and I can see it in other people, and it helps me relate to them and see their vulnerabilities that they're trying to live with, cover up, protect, or whatever. And so this unshakable me is just this feeling, this state, this connection that I want everybody to feel because it feels so awesome. And it doesn't mean I don't feel pain and discomfort. It means that amidst that, I can still feel joy, and I can feel this just deep connected with nature and our world. And I want to be part of this movement to help reconnect ourselves first, then with each other, because we're in such a state of disconnection internally and externally.
Mhm.
So I never set out to create anything. It just came to me that I wanna share this because it's an incredible way to live and be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that you're spot on with that. I mean, we do have to learn to, if we're in a relationship, you cannot be, I'm sorry, you cannot be in a relationship if you don't have a good relationship with yourself. I don't care,
Yeah.
because you're not going to be if you're looking for someone else to complete you, that's not going to happen. It's like if you're looking for someone else to give you all the answers, that's not going to happen because you
Mm-mm.
already have them. And you
Mhm.
have to learn to appreciate and be grateful for what you have,
Yep.
and, like, fill up your own cup first.
Mhm.
And it's not, and tell people all the time, it's not about being selfish. You're not being selfish.
Yeah.
You're just being, self-fulfilling and because there's a reason on the airplane they tell you to put on your oxygen mask first, because
Mhm.
if
Yeah.
you can't breathe, you're not going to be able to help anybody else.
Yeah.
Same thing. If your cup is always empty and
Mhm.
you can't help that. And I think it's really important, especially right now, that we are
Yeah.
able to be in community. And in order to be in community, we have to be in ourselves. And I truly believe that if
Yeah.
we're going to help each other, we need to help ourselves, and then we
Mhm.
need to be in community and raise the vibration. Okay, there we go. There's my soapbox for you, but
It's
it's
so
true.
true, Sue, and it's so simple,
It is
you know?
simple. And that's why it's overlooked, I believe, is because it is so simple.
Yeah. Well, it's counter to all the conditioning in our culture to seek it
Mhm.
outside. I mean, I had tons of patients who wanted to be fixed. I wanted to be fixed,
Yeah.
and I think we are just indoctrinated to look outside of ourselves for what is missing inside ourselves. And when we can give that to ourselves,
Mhm.
then we can give it, which brings so much more in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I first went into real estate, and that's more, people think of it as salesy, and it's really not. It's about relationship building.
Yeah.
Real
Yeah.
estate is like 90% relationship, 10% transaction.
Mhm.
And I remember reading this really wonderful series, and I believe there's like 3 books in it. It's called The Go Giver, right? Where, you don't have to, the more you give, the more you receive, is kind of the
Yeah.
overarching theme of it. And it's so true, but I think people don't, it's hard to be that way, right? Where it's
Mhm.
like, if I give this client to someone else because it's not a good fit for me, I may never have another client again. On the contrary, if
Yeah.
you let one thing go, you're just making space for something better. And I also teach real estate, and I tell my students, don't don't feel like you have to work with everyone, especially when you're starting out. Set
Uh-huh.
the stage early that you want to feel good about the people that you're working with, and you want to attract people. You
Yeah.
don't want to trap them.
Yes. Yeah. And it
Right.
kind of plays a little bit into that scarcity,
Yeah, oh,
"Oh,
absolutely.
it's not gonna
Total.
I'm not gonna get another one."
Yeah.
And you know, uh, I was just thinking I made a little YouTube video last couple weeks ago about allowing.
Mhm.
You do the work, the thoughts, the beliefs, the actions, and then you let it go.
Yeah.
And And that's hard because we want control. And what
Yeah.
if a client doesn't come along, but they will.
Yeah.
It's having
They
that
won't if
trust.
you're always worried about them coming
Right.
along, right? It's
Right.
so, like you were
It's that
saying, where
trust.
you put your energy and your intentions, they're
Mhm.
gonna go there. Like you we're thinking, "Oh, I'm always gonna feel this way. Oh, here comes another illness, and I know
Yeah.
where this is gonna take me." And then when you started to release those feelings,
Mhm.
you were able to let other good healing energy in. It sounds like that was my interpretation. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to go through it, you have
yeah.
to accept it. And I thought acceptance meant definition and identification,
Mm,
and it doesn't at all. It just helps to get the energy moving and
mhm.
allows you to see what else is here. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the big thing for me too is that, um, being curious right? And that's
Mhm.
kind of the thing. It's like you don't have to label, you don't have to identify. You're just curious, like, why do I feel that way? Or what,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
just be curious about the information that you're receiving rather than trying to classify it
Yeah.
and identify it and put it in a box or put it into a story.
Mhm.
Just be curious, like, huh, what is that? Where did that come from? Why
Yeah.
do I feel a certain way when that something like that happens? And
Yeah.
then you start questioning and being curious and building
Yeah.
awareness. And those three
Mhm.
things I think are key for me anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And what can I learn?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
There's a message, our bodies are incredibly intelligent.
Mhm.
And, it's funny because when I used to do riding, uh, my mind would wander and my horse would completely like
Take you for a
what we
ride.
were working on would fall apart. And it was like,
Mhm.
oh, I just left. I'm coming back.
Mhm.
And I think that, it's that awareness. But in that case, my horse was telling me, "You're gone."
Mhm.
But looking now at symptoms, it's like, "Okay, there's something I'm missing, and this is maybe bubbling up.
Mhm.
So, how can I listen? How can I hear? How can I uncover what this is and not assign it to mean that," you know? So it's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And as you said before, it's about getting quiet. You can't hear
right.
why things are bubbling up. You can't listen if your mind is, like you said, monkey mind off running around
Mhm,
chattering all the
mhm.
time,
Yeah,
or if you're just not being quiet and still, you're not going to hear the real answers. And like you said, when you were walking in Discovery Park and all of a sudden it came to you, oh, unshakable me, right? Oh, because you were being quiet, you were
right.
listening, you were in the moment, you were.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things, you go on YouTube and there's 5 tips for blah blah blah, or do this for your nervous system, or do this meditation or that meditation. And that's great, but it's all somebody telling you what to do versus you getting quiet, you getting
Mhm.
still and just exploring inside. And that was the big game changer, was when I just thought, "All right, I gotta meet this person
Mhm.
who is under all these labels and these layers."
Yeah.
And there aren't it's not the YouTube videos or a lot of the programs that I tried. It was very prescriptive, XYZ.
Mhm.
And I think it's finding that stillness, creating the space for that stillness. When we're too busy, there isn't. I mean, I was a million miles away from me when I was living before I got sick. I was absolutely anything but grounded in here.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you were in your mind, you felt like I'm living my best life.
Yeah. I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
The
this is
mind is a
what life is
powerful,
about.
yeah. The mind is powerful and it will try and override
Mhm.
anything else. Like you said, it go with the feels and not the thoughts because and that's like I said, that's why I love well, you're a horse person, so I hate to keep going back to the horses, but I don't
What?
because they don't judge you. They don't,
Mm-mm.
they're a lot of times when we're doing a retreat or even before an individual session, I'll go through a 5 senses meditation, and I think that that's kind of one of those ones where it's really fun to do even by yourself because it does quiet you. It
Yeah.
brings you in, it opens up all your senses, like, what are
Yeah.
5 things that you see? What are 4 things that you hear? What are 3 things that you smell? What are 2 things that can touch? And what's one thing that that you taste?
Yeah.
And if you do it in a really slow unfolding process, it forces you to be in your body and out of your mind.
Yeah. Definitely. Which is a great gateway to
Mhm.
discovering more. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, what's next for you? What is your well, let me ask you this. Let's go
Yep.
back to your Unshakable Me. How do you work with clients, and what client have you worked with where you've seen them really open up and embrace your process, that's actually, had a transformation, if you don't mind, without
Yeah.
mentioning names, obviously, or whatever, but
Yeah. Well, I right now I don't work one-on-one with people.
oh,
I
okay.
have an online program and I do bi-weekly or bi-monthly, wait, bi-weekly, every other week. I get confused.
Right.
Live session coaching sessions. But
And that's
I
in a group setting online, you do
it's
that?
a group
Okay.
setting, yeah.
Okay.
And I have a client who has been through a lot of trauma
Mhm.
in her life and has been just a people pleaser to such a degree where she's just feels terrible if she says no, like just can't say no, but also is feeling it in her body. She's got some autoimmune um and and she actually for kind of the first time was able to set boundaries with people. She has this love for herself that she's cultivating that is new, and she's still, it's a lifelong commitment, but
Mhm.
she is so much more in her sense of self. She still has some, trouble kind of coming into the sensations in the body because of her history, and she is getting help for, seeing a therapist, which I tell people,
Yeah.
and if things come up, see a therapist, I'm
Mhm.
not a therapist in that sense, um, but just this evolution of really taking, stepping into her own power
Mhm.
and really feeling worthy and feeling like, okay, I can set boundaries, I can say no, I can quit the job because I deserve it in myself. And so she stands out as just really this incredible, strong person who has always put herself last, and she's been kind of moving forward with that. So that's that's incredible to see the progress that she's made.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And I do think and I do find that, women tend to be in those positions of, putting themselves last. I used to be a people pleaser. I thought,
Me
well,
too.
that's the way, I will fit in if I make everybody else feel good. And at what expense, right? At my expense,
Yeah.
because I didn't like myself. So, how am I going to make other people feel better? But
Mhm.
that we put ourselves in those positions and those roles because we think that that's what we need to do, and boundaries are hard. That is a hard one. I think,
Yeah.
like I said, with women especially. Men are really good at setting boundaries. They're like, "No, I don't have to do that. I'm not gonna do
So
that."
good.
Women are yeah, they're so good, and because they don't care. And, not that they don't care. I'm not saying that they're
They
but
don't
at the
have the
same time
emotional baggage,
no. And
you
because
know?
women are like, we feel less than or we feel
Mhm.
whatever,
Was our
and, I mean, it's just how we were brought up as women, and you do,
Mhm.
concede to someone else, or you do, whatever the BS is, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I do think that that is a huge one with people, with women especially, that they
Yeah.
just boundaries are difficult because you don't we don't want someone to not like us. We don't want to seem like being unhelpful or whatever. So and the next thing you know, you're volunteering for 25 things and you hate it, right? You're
Right.
resentful, you're
Yeah.
angry, you feel like crap, you're tired, and you're like, you put yourself there.
Yeah.
Nobody else did.
Yeah.
And people don't care. They'll be like, okay, yeah, great. You're gonna volunteer for this. Good. Come on, bring it.
Right.
And then before you know it, you're just overwhelmed and exhausted, and it's not healthy.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just so much conditioning,
Mhm.
I mean, I grew up my mom had a lot of guilt. Her mom had a lot of guilt. I used to joke my mom's like the burned toast person because she would eat the burned toast so that we could eat the good toast,
Never
and
mind, I'll sit
not
in the
waste it.
corner, right?
Yeah.
Never mind. I'll eat the toast, don't
And
worry, it's okay.
exactly. And if you don't feel like you're enough, then you've gotta feel like you're somebody for somebody else,
Yeah.
something for somebody else to help you feel like you're enough. But then it gets way too far, and then you have that feeling of just like, I'm writing checks I can't cash. I'm resentful. I feel like it's
Mhm.
obligatory, and it just pulls more of my energy away from me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is a big one, and it's funny because people ask me, well, what are the things that your clients bring to a coaching session? I'm like, you name it, right? You
Ha.
name it. And the thing is, when someone sets an intention in the arena with the horse initially, and then they're in there for 10 or 15 minutes, that intention is out the window because the layers fall away pretty quickly and it's
Yeah.
really obvious what really, really, really needs to be worked on, right? So,
Yeah, which is really cool.
yeah,
Yeah, I love that.
because you can't hide from a horse. 1,200
No.
pound animal staring you in the face, and they're going to, like you said, when you would, when your mind would go off, your horse was like, oh, okay, she's not paying attention.
Right, so I'm not going to either. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's unexpected, I would assume, with your clients, they go in thinking one thing and they come out with something completely unexpected and
But it's
surprising.
fun because they're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, oh, I get it." Like the horse is nudging them or the horse is, getting ready to step on their feet or whatever, and at first they're like, "Oh, that's cute. The horse is being cuddly." And I'm like, "Okay, well, let's see how this continues." And then, the next thing you know, the horse is like pushing them with their head or whatever. I'm like, "Now how does that feel?" Not very good. "Oh, okay. Why?" Well, the horse is in my space and he's being really pushy. And oh, okay. Does this ever come up for you in your life? Yeah. And then they're like, oh, I
Oh,
get it. Boundaries. I'm really bad with boundaries.
yeah,
Ah, ding, 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 ding.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's,
It's
oh, it's funny.
presents
Yeah,
itself.
they're funny creatures for sure.
Yeah, I love them. I love them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what's next for you?
So, what's next is just further development of my program, and I'm applying for different kinds of speaking roles to just get out there
Mhm.
and help people, really connect with themselves in any way that they can and just move this message forward. And hopefully there are some more horses in my future, and
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
yeah, and more healing,
Yeah.
it's a journey, and just being present and grateful for every day. And it's weird, I actually also have gratitude for the illnesses that are still there, because without them I would have never become this person. So, it's this interesting dance with gratitude every day, and for all the amazing things that my body's able to do, and for this, nature and being able to be a part of it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So I
So,
appreciate being here. Yeah, to share my
yeah, well,
message.
I'm
Thank
thrilled
you.
to have you. And so, because this is midlife strategies, if you had, and I know that you don't want to be a YouTube video going, do these 5 things and you'll be fine.
Mhm.
What can you give one little tip or strategy or something if someone is intrigued and knows that they are not on the right journey and that they need to make some changes? What are like 1 or 2 things that you can offer to my listeners?
I think the most important thing that you can do is to connect in some way with yourself every day and do something kind. That could be a pause, setting a timer, and just s- saying kind words to yourself a few times a day. It can be we are all always or often so hard on ourselves. So I think awareness is a big piece of how are you talking to yourself? And when you catch yourself, change some of that language. You know, it awareness it was a really big piece because we can't do anything about the things that we're not aware of. And so even I've had people inventory your thoughts for a day or a week or a few days. And it's interesting. I mean, I did it myself, and it's really interesting the patterns and the things that come up. And, meeting yourself with kindness. I had expectations of the past couple days. I've been working on a new software thing for making clips, and it has been like, it's not working. It's not working on any platform. And it's easy to be frustrated with myself for not getting stuff done. But that's an opportunity for saying, okay, you know what? You're doing the best that you can. So, as much as you can, kind of filling that bank account with kindness, the more we connect with ourselves, the more we will find clarity in our purpose. We'll be more solid in our decision making, and realizing that, you know, another piece is taking risks and stepping out of your comfort zone.
Mhm.
That is hard, but it returns so much, and you learn a lot about yourself. And even if you fail, celebrate your win for just doing it,
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
think, connecting and compassion for yourself, stepping out of your comfort zone, and awareness are three things that are really powerful changers, and it's just a little bit, small daily actions consistently.
Tortoise steps.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that, you said, building awareness about especially how we talk to ourselves. Like,
Mhm.
if you do something, even if it's in your head, you're like, "Oh god, I'm such an idiot."
Yeah.
No, you're not an idiot. I mean, that
Yeah.
is that's just something that we're like, "Oh," or "I'm so blah blah," or whatever it is. But if you can, like you said, like catch yourself when you have some internal
Mhm.
uh, conversation, some internal reprimand to yourself or a self-deprecating remark.
Yeah.
And then if you write it down
Mhm.
and you have to look at it and go, I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
Why did I say
Yeah.
that? I mean, but yes, even those little things can make a huge difference of how we view ourselves, because how we view ourselves is how other people are going to view you. Right.
Yeah, and when you're attacking yourself,
Mm-hmm.
that also creates, you know, your nervous system activation,
Mm-hmm.
and that limits you on the change you can create in your life because you can't access that prefrontal cortex if you're in danger or perceived danger. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot more powerful than we think. And even thinking, having a name for your inner critic, or, imagining, how would you talk to a friend?
Right.
Well, be your friend, have a little name inside. Maybe it's your child or your whatever, but how would you talk to that person?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that creates a lot of safety in your nervous system, and it allows you to be curious and to be open and to access that more responding part of our brain versus reacting, so we can, you know build, really cultivate. It's a lifelong thing. It's like you plant the seed of self-belief, and then you have to water it, and you have to pull
Mm-hmm.
the weeds of negative thinking or
Yeah.
inner criticizing, but it'll grow,
Yeah.
and you'll find that clarity and that purpose, and a lot of joy along the way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been a great conversation, Heidi. And if people want to get in touch with you, and I'll put all this in the show notes, but where's the best place to reach you and find out more about the work that you're doing?
On UnshakableMe, it's all one word, .com.
Perfect.
And I've got lots of resources on there for people, free resources, and also ways to connect with me. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So
All of the things.
all the
Great.
things.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And we'll put all that in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate having you on the show. And to my listeners, thank you for following me into this next chapter of this podcast, now called Midlife Strategies for Badass Women. And Heidi, thank you for being a badass guest. I love it.
Thank you so much, Sue. It's been really enjoyable time.
And thanks everyone. And for if this episode resonated with you, please go like, share, whatever. If it resonates with and you think somebody else might need to hear this message, then please share this episode with a friend. And I will see you next week. Take care.